Hello, we're with you again here on the Best Coast Sports Connection, episode 15. Andy Bishop, Brian Vilvan, Thomas Conroy. Gentlemen, Game 7, that's all I need to say.
Oh, baby. Game 7, last baseball day of the calendar year. Super excited. The Nats going to take it all tonight, baby.
Thomas, how you feeling today, sir?
I'm a little nervous with the survivor pool.
Yes.
This is the first week where I really had to. I'm still searching. I'm undecided right now. There's too many games that are just. I'm just shaking my head. I have to go down to the whiteboard and do the plus and minuses for all the teams in the running.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that a little more. Of course, we're not quite cool enough to be a pre- or post-game show with Major League Baseball, so it's the in-game show here with the connection. So we'll get to the baseball in a little bit. We're in between innings 1 and 2 in the contest. Okay, Thomas. So Survivor League, NFL this past weekend. Who'd you take?
This past weekend, I took an easy one. Thursday night, it was Minnesota
That's
over
right.
the Redskins.
A game that ended up being 19-9,
Yeah.
but not as close as I feel. I felt the
No.
Vikings dominated that game a little bit more.
It felt like a 35-6 game, but they would just settle for field goals. It was a typical defensive coach not trying to rub it in, so he just kicked field goals instead of going for touchdowns.
Sure.
But
So you, along with 8 others, took the Vikings. 2 others took the Steelers. 2 others took the Packers. I want to say, yeah, Packers. Who'd they play?
Kansas City.
Packers played the Chiefs.
Oh no,
with
they
Patrick
wouldn't have
Mahomes.
picked. They wouldn't have picked Green Bay. Anyway, 2 people took other teams. So we're still at 13 teams, down from 65 from the original. How, as Brian and I, of course, are no longer alive in the
Yeah,
Survivor
must be
League.
nice, Thomas.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What's the mental state of mind as we head into week 9 of
Yeah.
NFL action?
Well, I've never been here before, to be truthful. And, this is my first year playing Survivor Pool, and now I'm in 2 because I joined another league after joining ours, and I'm surviving in both. But this is the week where I'm just like, oh, man, I should never have picked the Cowboys that week. That was so stupid. There's
I feel the exact same way. I should have never picked the Cowboys that week. I'm so stupid.
Yes,
So-
the 1 week where the Jets
Dude,
somehow escaped with
the
something.
Jets are
something.
so bad. How did they knock me out? I don't get it.
I mean, to be serious, I might choose the Dolphins over the Jets this week.
Ooh.
Going on a
I-
limb.
You're out of your mind.
little South Beach action.
And of
If
course,
you win that one, you're destined to win the whole damn thing. Because wow,
Of course, you already took the Packers and escaped with them, and they're on the road against the Chargers.
Yeah, on the road.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, come on.
At home in Carson,
Yeah.
and we'll see 85% Packers fans.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
I heard someone say that the Chargers should break out an alternate uniform that's green and gold.
Then they would
Just
feel
for
like
this
they're at
weekend,
home.
They feel like all the crowds for them. I hate the Chargers.
Yeah, I do too, and I was watching a good chunk of their game this past weekend when they just looked so mediocre and put themselves in a position to lose a game, and they got lucky this time via what's his name, Eddie Pinheiro,
Eddie Pinheiro,
41-yard field goal miss by just a couple of feet. So
The Bears, once they let Robbie Gould go, they have not been able to get a kicker dialed in. And that is such a premium position, and he is so good. And, the 49ers have reaped the spoils of having an amazing kicker like Robbie Gould, who is one of the most consistent kickers, if not the most consistent of this generation. I'm considering Adam Vinatieri the last generation,
Yeah.
even though he still plays. But Robbie Gould has been so solid forever, and boy, the 49ers, they've got themselves a good one and an unblemished record.
oof.
But Chicago, what a mistake that was.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely. I mean, they totally chargered on
Yep.
on this past Sunday. I like your point, Brian. It makes you appreciate a Vinatieri, a Gold, a Justin Tucker
Yeah.
with
Oh, yeah.
Baltimore, Gostkowski with New England, guys that, have 95%, accuracy percentages throughout their career for
Yep.
5, 10, 15 years, It's incredible.
And it's such a crapshoot with all these other guys.
Yeah.
Like, Tampa Bay's run into that. A handful of teams have had opportunities. They get themselves in a great position to win a game, and then they just can't get it done. So, yeah, you're right. Dan Bailey, another guy on that list who was rock solid for a lot of years. It's good to have a
New
good
England
kicker.
got rid of their coach. Got rid of their kicker this week. Mike Nugent. They signed Nick Folk.
That's right.
Well, because Gostkowski
Gostkowski
was
was injured,
injured.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's that obviously the injury bug has struck them there. About the only thing going wrong in New England right now.
Yeah, man. What another run for the Pats. Okay, we're halfway through the NFL season,
Yeah.
roughly. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, how did we get here already?
It is crazy.
What are a couple of storylines or something that stuck out to you early on, or as we approach this midpoint of the season?
I think the biggest surprise, and it was a big surprise after week 4, and it continues to be now, is the 49ers.
Yep.
And I thought that last week would be the week that the 49ers would finally come back to life and, struggle, but they absolutely dominated Carolina in a game where Christian McCaffrey still had, close to 200 yards of total offense, but the game was never in doubt. They put up 52 points against the Panthers. And, that was super impressive, that type of performance. That's a really complete team. That defense is rock solid. Nicky Bosa doing a ton of things, and they've been the biggest surprise for me on the positive end.
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of been the storyline of the quarterbacks this year. We've had several that are injured early on in the season.
Yep.
And you also were at the latter part of so many great quarterbacks. Breeze, Brady, you could say Roethlisberger, Rivers. Roethlisberger's injured. Eli Manning's no longer the starting quarterback for the Giants. So you're slowly seeing this new wave of quarterbacks, a Deshaun Watson, a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's exciting for me. You kind of see this new breed of quarterbacks, guys that are going to take over the league for the next decade plus. So I kind of see that slow transition happening this year.
For me, it's the discrepancy between the final, like the bottom tier of the league to the also-rans to the top of the league. I mean, I've never seen so many double-digit point spreads than I have this season.
Yeah.
And it kind of shocks me that, like, the league just kind of condones these actions. And especially now we're getting into, basically dumping your roster, and then hopefully you'll get the top pick. I think if that starts getting in the NFL, I mean, I would be really mad if I was a season ticket holder for the Miami Dolphins, because I'm paying probably close to like $800 a seat, and I'm basically watching garbage for 4 months. And you can tell me all you want about wait until next year, but you're not giving me a discount for watching subpar football. And that to me the NFL to me was always about, everybody hovered around 500, and there'd be like, maybe 2 to 5 teams that would be in double-digit wins. Where this year, I mean, that Bengals-Dolphins game, they got to flex that into Sunday night, because that could be the battle for the number 1 pick, and I want to see who's going to get it.
That would be so amazing if that happened.
But if that does happen, if both teams come in winless, then Thomas will be out of the survivor pool, because he's already put his money he's on the South Beach diet this week. He's going with the Finns, going to fry the Jets.
Oh man. Well, Thomas, we hope the best for you this next week in the Survivor League.
Yeah, I'm pulling for it.
I hope you win, but I'm ready to see a few more fall off. We've been at 13 for a couple weeks here.
Yeah, we've gone 2 straight weeks with nobody getting knocked out.
We need this baby to end sometime within the next few weeks. I think I predicted it would be settled by week 12. Might go past that.
I think I went under, actually.
Yeah.
Ugh. Not looking so good right now.
But this week, with people using so many of the good teams leading up to this week and a lot of questionable games, you could see half the pool drop out.
Yeah,
this week.
There's a lot of good matchups. Last week was a bunch of really awful games. Like, oh my gosh, how can you even watch football this weekend? But fantasy keeps you involved. This week, there's a lot of matchups that you would think would be marquee matchups, like that Packers-Chargers game. A a big game between Baltimore and New England. That one's got the makings for a classic early season contest. You were talking about potentially, we talked about this. You were talking about Houston potentially being the second best team in the AFC. I was talking about the Chiefs. Thomas talked about Baltimore. That game right there has the makings of, if Baltimore wins, now they've got 2 losses, but a win against New England. New England's got their first loss. That could be the only thing that would stand in the way of New England breezing to the number 1 seed in the AFC. So that's a game I really got my eyes on, because if New England beats them, they'd have a 3-game lead on the closest competitor plus the tiebreaker in there. And you could, midway through the season, already wrap up the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Typical
don't
Patriots,
get it.
just another solid year for them. Normally they go like 12-4, 13-3, but it's going to be 15-1,
Yeah.
plus or minus a game this year. Let's delve into that topic you mentioned, Brian, about the next best team after the Patriots. We all wrote a piece on each of those teams on our new website, thanks to Brian Vilvin.
We got a website, baby.
bcsportsconnect.com.
That's right. Yeah, that's exciting. We got it's a new website. It's a platform for us to write pieces, to post our videos, for people to get involved if they want to be a part of what we're doing here. It's a blog, it's a podcast site, it's all of that wrapped into one. So we plan on doing a lot of different things with it. It gives us another avenue for that. And one of those pieces was a fun little piece. We got to argue a little bit about who we think that next best team is. Again, I think Kansas City, right now it's tough because Kansas City doesn't have their quarterback. So a game against a Minnesota like they have coming up, you look at that on the schedule and be like, oh my gosh, that's a must-watch game. That's one of the best teams in the NFC playing against, in my opinion, the second best team in the AFC. But then it looks like Patrick Mahomes isn't going to play, as we have our first runs of the World Series Game 7.
Who hit it?
Gurriel. Second
Astros
inning,
up
man.
early on,
Yeah.
as you were saying, Brian.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back though to what you were saying with the quarterbacks. There's been a ton of quarterbacks getting injured this year. There's the new wave, and I think Patrick Mahomes is the leader of the new wave, if not one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league. But it kind of loses its luster when it's Matt Moore. So I don't know. I still think Kansas City is built to have a deep playoff run because they can score with anybody. They're not going to stop anybody, but I don't know. I just think it's a new version of the NFL, and I think they're positioned well. I just wish Mahomes was healthy, and I hope he gets back healthy.
Yeah.
Hope it's not like every single week they say, okay, next week, which is what's been happening. So,
What's weird is I read a report. They said that if it was a playoff game, he would have played last week. So it's just to make sure that he's fully 100%.
I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
the franchise's future is resting on that kneecap. Like, you got to make sure that thing's in place.
Yeah, certainly.
That does I just marvel at that. Like, you dislocate your kneecap and you could play the following week. And I know it was 10 days, but I mean, to me, it's just like, wow. Sometimes I think like these guys are like I think I'm somewhat of a decent athlete, but
They're a little
these
tougher
guys
than
are
us.
like out
Yeah,
of this world.
never had a dislocated knee.
No, neither have I. I hope none of us.
Yeah, that
feel
just doesn't sound fun.
No, it does not. Absolutely not.
I've had a sore knee after a 3-mile run yesterday.
I've had a sore knee after waking up wrong.
After
Slept on the wrong
sitting
side
in a
of
bar
bed.
and
Yeah.
talking about sports.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I got podcast knee over here.
All right, so my pick for the second best team was Houston,
Yep.
who
A bold pick, by the
Right?
way, coming
Yes.
off of a loss to a division rival in Indianapolis. But
yeah, I mean, right, but
make the case, baby.
exactly. So my biggest point is that they beat the Chiefs, your team,
Thanks,
on
bro.
the road,
Thanks.
right?
Yep.
In Arrowhead.
With Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
So I can't even use that excuse.
And so there's kind of two things. Every game it has been within a touchdown, or at least most of their games have, even though they've played down to some of their opponents. They almost beat New Orleans on the road in week 1.
Yep.
They beat Kansas City on the road. So they probably, whether they win their division or enter as a wild card, I could easily see them winning in the first 2 rounds
Yep.
and advancing to New England. Overall, I think it comes down to Deshaun Watson as their quarterback and his continued growth into an MVP type quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, I love watching the kid. He's making those Mahomes type plays, Aaron Rodgers, you name it, where he's escaping the pocket and making ridiculous throws. So they have a really all-around nice offense. Their defense is a little bit of the concern, as I mentioned in the article. They do now just lose J.J. Watt for the season as well, so I hate
rough.
seeing that. But they're just a tough, gritty team, and so I like them. I really like them.
The team that I chose was the Baltimore Ravens, and simply because of Lamar Jackson. I think he's really developed into a dual threat at the quarterback position. The running was obviously, we saw it last year. He was one of the top runners in the NFL. Does his ability to get out in the open field and make moves, but his passing now is improved so much. And the game that convinced me was their road win against Seattle, because they brought some pretty good pressure, and he was so poised to step in the pocket and either go to the outside and run with the football or throw it straight down the challenge their safeties. And they don't have Cam Chancellor down there anymore, so he was hitting his receivers consistently, and especially his tight end Mitch Andrews. I was just like, wow, if he can throw the football this consistent, they're going to be a tough out. And I agree with you, Brian. I think this Sunday night is really going to be a telltale sign, because the Patriots are traveling down there, and I think that Ravens team, they're confident enough because they've beaten New England in Foxborough. But boy, if they could beat them in a home game, their confidence is going to be at an all-time high.
Yeah, I mean, they have an opportunity to solidify themselves as the number 2 team in the AFC. But one thing that rings true for all the teams we just talked about, they have the 3 best young dynamic quarterbacks in Watson, Jackson, and Mahomes. So those guys are, I think, a little new wave of talent that we've talked about that are going to lead their teams for a long time. And I think those 3 franchises are positioned really well moving forward. I mean, at some point, number 12 has to retire, right?
Yep.
So New England's not going to be around forever. I think Belichick probably thinks about leaving at the same time. I saw a report that Tom Brady was going to opt out of his deal this year and go be the quarterback for the Chargers next year. I swear, I saw that.
Well, so there's been so much talk, right? He's one of 3 things is going to happen this offseason. He's going to opt out, he'll stay there, or he'll retire.
Yep. Well, this thing said the only other team he would go to is the Chargers.
Where's the logic coming from? Oh,
He already sold his house in New England. They want to be an LA family. He's an entertainer, kind of like LeBron going to the Lakers. You go start the Hollywood thing. His wife is a supermodel, and they were saying that would be, if he wanted to go somewhere else, go be the twilight of his career in Los Angeles. Phillip Rivers has an opportunity to go potentially quarterback somewhere else, so there would be an opening there. And Tom Brady can pretty much write his own ticket wherever he wants.
Only the Chargers would upgrade to a 42-year-old quarterback.
Well, also, only the Chargers could screw that up.
Yeah,
too,
I was going to say either
they could figure out a way to butcher that.
Either like Brady, like we warned you, Brady, you don't want to go there. But if he did somehow take them to a deep playoff run or a Super Bowl, like that is the utmost of all sports. If if he
take that franchise,
won his 8th his Super Bowl with that terrible franchise. So
I would immediately dislike him.
Yeah, right?
I love the guy, and I've been like a Tom Brady stan for a long time, but if he won a Super Bowl for the Chargers, I'd be off the Brady train.
Russell Trung's going to step on his foot and fracture it.
And he's gone. By the way, Thomas, your shirt blends in with the jersey right behind you. This is great. You got your Dan Fouts shirt on and the Dan Fouts jersey
fitting.
in the background.
We didn't even really plan that. We got booted over here into the corner. No, just kidding.
And we've got the spooky Halloween filter going.
Yeah. It's a little dark. We're toning it down.
Yeah, they got a packed house for World Series Game 7, so we couldn't break out all the big, beautiful lighting. Yeah. But thank you again to McGregor's for having us, which they have all 15 episodes. 15. They've put up with us for almost 4 months now. Yeah. Holy cow.
No rent increase.
Yeah.
We started in the doldrums of baseball before even the All-Star break, and now here we are in Game 7 of the World Series.
Hey,
that's pretty awesome, man.
Surviving, baby.
Yep.
Good work, gentlemen.
Survive in advance.
Well, so there's also happening tonight, as we talked about, Game 7 of the World Series.
Yep. Kind of a big deal.
It's it's been a pretty entertaining series from my vantage point. And something you haven't seen is every game being taken by the road team.
Yeah.
So I think that aspect of it has been really intriguing to me.
Not only had that never happened in baseball, that's never happened up until this point in any of the sports that, wow, nice play, in any of the sports that play best of 7 series. There's never been a sport, hockey, basketball, MLB, that has had a playoff series go where the first 6 games were all run by the road teams. So that's crazy. But, it's happening. I like it. And it's going to happen 7 straight tonight. The road teams winning the entire World Series. I got my money on the Nats. Even though they're down early, I don't care.
You better
Stick
scratch
with
out
them.
2 runs.
Our
Because-
predictions are week to week, if you haven't gotten that yet here on the
Wait a
connection.
minute, Major League Baseball might
Oh, yeah.
do something to you. Don't do this. Oh, okay.
Oh, Ryan taking his shirt off. Oh, it's just the Nationals shirt.
I'm telling you, if I got it, I'm going to flaunt it. And I got it.
So
The
okay,
shirt-
so
the
you-
shirt, that is, not
yeah, the body.
No, not that. Definitely not got that. But I got the shirt. That's all I got.
So you have all this Nationals gear. Do we have an explanation next for this?
Yeah, I saw this run come in a long time ago, so I wanted to stock up on Nationals gear. No. I play in the San Diego Adult Baseball League. This is my 2nd season playing now.
Nice.
And the team that I play for wears Nationals uniforms. So I've got
That makes sense.
National jersey, undershirt, hat, all that stuff. So although you think I'm a closet Nationals fan, it's just I'm a Nationals fan in the sense of like when you're in Little League and you're on the Pirates,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, I got my Pirates hat, I'm gonna wear that around, like cool, but you don't actually know anything about the Pirates. You just have the hat, so you wear it. That's my Nationals fandom.
Yeah, I was actually on the Pirates my last 2 years
I
of
was
Little
on the
League
Pirates, too.
baseball.
That's what I thought.
11 and 12. I was on the Royals as a 10-year-old and the Indians as a 9-year-old, and that's all I got.
I was Red Sox as a 9-year-old, Pirates from 10 to 12, White Sox at 13, Royals at 14, Brewers at 15, and then
And then
started playing volleyball.
You didn't get signed by
I did not. No. The
El
Dominican scout
El
was not
Paso,
there for me, no.
or
What
not the El
happens if you
Paso.
get traded to the Dodgers? Will you wear the gear?
If I get traded to the Dodgers, I will retire, like anyone from San Diego should. This is embarrassing. My mom wants to know if I'm wearing leggings. I tried to explain to her, when it's a guy wearing them, they're called compression pants. Okay? I just got a pair of compression pants recently, and they're freaking awesome. And sometimes I wear them.
So you're wearing compression
I'm
leggings.
not right now, but yes, I have in the past worn some. She wants to call them leggings. I'll call them compression pants.
I've worn some I would call them long underwear. Like, if you're getting ready to go skiing.
I'd call them tights.
Basically, but more so like when I would go running in the cold,
Yep.
kind of need that extra layer.
Oh, so it's okay then?
Yeah.
Thomas, you got any leggings?
No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right.
What are you
Thomas.
trying to compress, by the way?
It's like some hamstring flare-ups. From
Yeah,
the baseball.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to keep those muscles
Exactly.
treated
Thank
right.
you for the clarification.
Go Nets.
Okay, Thomas, I want to hear your take on this series.
Be
Be honest.
To be truthful, it hasn't been that much of an exciting series for me. The games have been, except for last night, the games have been pretty much in hand from the earlier part of the game. So I tend to lose interest if the other team's not making an effort to get back into the game. But my eyes did awaken in Game 5 with a little controversy behind the plate, and then it got internet crazy. And then last night's play I almost blew a gasket last night because that could have been the worst miscarriage of justice I've ever seen on a baseball field.
I agree. That was so bad. And I've kind of been pulling for the Nationals a little bit, so I was boiling inside, so to speak, as I was watching that game. And thankfully, Rendon knocked one out after that. But, yeah, for that to happen in a World Series in such a crucial moment, wow, that does not look good for Major League Baseball.
In a one-run game, in a situation that would have been second and third with nobody out in the 7th inning of a World Series elimination game, and instead it's a runner back to first and 1 out. Oh my gosh, I was sitting there cringing, feeling for the Nationals fans. If it was like the Yankees or someone who's won like 26 times, then whatever. But the Nationals have never won. Yeah, I was dying a little bit on the inside. And then when they went to that review, and this is the thing that sucks in baseball. In the NFL, even in college football, when they're going to review, before they go, they say what they're going to review. They say, the ruling on the field of a completed pass is under further review, whatever the heck the statement is. In baseball, they just go, put on the headset, and last night they sat there for like 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh,
we thought they were reviewing it. In reality, the play wasn't even reviewable. They were calling to make sure that the play wasn't reviewable, and I don't know what they were doing, but all of a sudden they come out from it and give the out call, which makes you think that they spent 10 minutes looking at that and determined that the runner should be out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it wasn't until later that it comes out that, that's how the rule is, but stupid rule. That was awful. If that had cost them the game.
And then poor Joe Torre has to sit there in the
Poor
post
Joe
game and explain it.
And his explanation, his explanation almost made me even more upset about the whole situation.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it have been like the director of the umpire should have sat there and given a clarification on what exactly went on there.
But that's what he is, isn't he?
I think he's just the head of discipline. I think he's just of maybe baseball operations, the whole operation.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that the runner impeded the first baseman's ability to catch the ball. How about don't throw it in the direction of the runner? Make a good throw, and he could have caught it all he wants. The runner has to run straight to the bag.
Yeah,
if you make a crappy throw, then that's your fault. That drove me crazy. I was a little heated at the time.
What if you were watching that in a Padres playoff or World Series
I know,
game?
that's what I was.
Right?
I was putting myself in that place, and I just can't. I can't. I'm getting upset about it now, just even thinking about it. Yeah.
So our boy, Mr. Steven Strasburg.
Yep. His jersey's got to be up in here, right?
I bet it's over its corner. There's some San Diego State stuff.
All right, we'll find out about that.
So has a rough first last night, but then just kind of plows through the Astros lineup. So cool to see his amazing performance this postseason, and then in Game 6 where his team needed it. So hope you come here next year to San Diego.
No, for real. Gosh, he'd look good in those Browns. I don't even know what the Browns are going to look like, but he'd look great in it. So I fully endorse that.
Yeah. We mentioned a couple episodes ago about the starting pitching for both teams and just how much money they're worth salary-wise, but I've really tried to kind of focus on their performances as they're going out in these pivotal situations. Scherzer, we'll see what he does tonight. He's already given up 1 run, but coming back from whatever's going on in his neck, a jacked up disc. So we'll see how long it is tonight, but just impressive performance by him way back in Game 1. Garrett Cole for the Astros in Game 5. Again, and they're on the road, in these volatile situations, and a lot of these guys deliver. So that's been the intriguing part of the series for me.
Do you think this is more of like a shift back to dominant starting pitching becoming a priority? Because a decade ago, that was what everybody wanted, was dominant starting pitching. And then over the last handful of years, it's kind of been like, dominant pitching, that's like a luxury item, not like a must-have if you want to build a contending team. Do you think this is taking us back towards that, or is this kind of like an aberration year?
That's tough to say. I want to say it's taking us back in that direction a little bit. But it's not like, I don't know, I feel like these offenses weren't like out of record-breaking offenses, but they're really clutch in the playoffs and in the World Series. So I think the focus, I guess it's got to continue to go back to starting pitching, because we've seen how valuable it is at this stage of the season. I think you need just at least 1 or 2 guys that can be your stalwarts.
And we've seen in San Diego what it can be like if you don't have that.
for
it ain't
just
pretty, baby.
a few years.
Yeah.
The one stat that made me scratch my head was that Justin Verlander has never won
Yeah.
a World Series game.
Yeah.
I know.
And this is like his
That shocked
fourth, I
me.
think, appearance in the World Series. And I was just like, are you kidding me? That guy has been dominant, especially in the playoffs when he was with Detroit.
Yeah.
And then Houston, since he's been there, I was just like, he's not won a World Series game? That is that's a shocker.
Okay, so this I'm glad you said that. 'Cause man, oh man, I was watching the game last night with Alyssa, my beautiful fiance, and the stat came up that Verlander has never won a game in the World Series.
Uh-oh.
But then right above that, so like it was the check marks of all the stuff he's done: no hitters, 3,000 strikeouts, 300 wins, all these crazy statistics that he's had in his career. And then it said World Series champion. And the check mark or the box was checked. And then underneath it said World Series winner. And she's like, so how has this guy been a World Series champion, but he's never won the World Series? And I was like, no, it's like an individual game, and he's the pitcher. She's like, so, but he's been on teams that won, but he didn't win. So then, does he get a ring? Or like all this stuff. I was like,
That's
such a
logic
good question.
from that
I know.
perspective.
So in my head, I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around what she wasn't comprehending, but. It's so funny because he won the championship 2 years ago in Houston, but he never won an actual game. So it is a crazy stat. And when someone who doesn't know what exactly a winning pitcher means, that could totally trip him up. But I thought that was pretty funny. And thanks for that comedy last night, babe.
Yeah, that was. I was keying in on that last night. He was looking good early on, and then gave up that homer to Soto. So.
Oh.
That was a bomb.
Speaking of the homers, what were your thoughts on the carrying of the bat to
Ooh,
first
Bregman
base?
and
Started
Soto,
out with
huh?
Bregman, and then I love that Soto did it right
Yeah,
back in his face.
that was amazing. I think I don't mind it at all as a fan. I kind of like it. You always love a good bat flip to add to the drama, or I guess carrying it all the way down the base. If I was a pitcher, I'd probably be pretty infuriated.
Yeah,
and be like.
And I told Alyssa at the time, I was like, there's probably going to be some type of retaliation. And even if it doesn't happen right now, like, because it's the World Series, you don't want to waste a runner. But I thought something was going to happen. And then the moment Soto hit that home run and carried the bat to first, I was like, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
They got theirs. They got it back.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was watching the MLB Network's post game, and Pedro Martinez was on the set, and they had Juan Soto, and they showed that replay. And he went to him. He goes, "Oh, you do that to me, I hit you down next time." And Soto just said, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." It's funny. It's like, I think it's a different era right now, and I think I've read so much today about these guys, these old school sports writers and commentators saying it's a disgrace to the sport. But I think that's just this day and age of these young athletes. I think they like throwing it in each other's face and see who has the ability to throw it back at them or not. And the Astro team, a lot, they're a very cocky baseball team. They're probably one of the cockiest teams I've seen in a long time, but they can back it up because, quite frankly, they're that good. And
Totally.
it's good to see that the Nationals are believing in themselves and giving it right back to them, especially in this ballpark.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like we probably have the player capable of the most swag in the entire MLB and Fernando Tatis Jr. So I hope we get to a stage like this and see what type of flair he throws out there. You going to be cool with that, AB?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
I just saw that he got a sponsorship from Cheetos, so that's out there.
Fernando Tatis, really?
I saw something on the internet. He was featured in like a Cheetos ad. Not like a TV ad, just like a social media ad. But
I'm down to eat some Cheetos.
yeah, Cheeto baby, spicy Cheetos or hot Cheetos.
If they're gonna do a national campaign with one of our players, then I'm buying it, baby. Even if it's regional, I don't care. Let's do it.
Absolutely. All right, so we're bottom of the third. Houston's up 1-0. Are you sticking with the Nats, right?
Oh yeah, Nats. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like Strasburg might pitch tonight.
I think he threw 104 pitches last night, maybe ish.
They probably
give or
pulled him
take like
out.
20.
I was wondering why they didn't let him finish the game. It was probably because they're like, well, let's save him for tomorrow night. After 8 1/3. Probably not, but I would love to see it.
I
That
got
would
to see
just
what
be
my
so awesome.
analytics guy says about that.
Well, they're like, well, he's not going to be on our team next year anyway, so who cares what
Right?
happens
Just
long term? Use
he,
him.
why is AJ Preller calling me right now?
Excuse me, you better not put that 37 in the game.
I read an article saying how very unlikely it is just because he gave a quote that he said, "I gave it my all tonight. I'm so tired." I think he only goes in if it's in a extra innings game, just because they've got Anibal Sanchez and Corbin and a couple other relievers that I think they would put in before him. But
Wouldn't it be
Who knows?
awesome if this game goes to like 16, 17 innings?
right,
Can you imagine the drama? That would be. Now that you've said that, I'm like really intrigued. I want that to happen real bad. It's probably not gonna happen.
Verlander said he'll pitch if they need him to for the Astros.
Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome.
Ga-
Verlander
Garrett
and
Cole?
Strasburg
I
are
mean,
going again.
just all the aces.
Verlander gets his first win, and it's in the extra innings because he pitches like a scoreless
Yeah.
16th, and then they hit a walk-off in the bottom of the 16th, and he gets that win. So then Alyssa doesn't have to be confused
Yeah.
anymore. One-time World Series winner, two-time World Series champion. Oh, baseball's awesome.
Oh man, let's talk about our dog, the new man in charge here in San Diego, the one and only Jace Tingler.
Tingleberry.
Tingler all the way.
Tingle all the way. Is there another name that you can think of that's been like
No,
so
right.
much fun to just say a bunch of weird stuff about?
Tingle,
Jace-
baby.
Jace Tingler.
Okay, so Jace Tingler,
Yeah.
hired by the Padres,
Mhm.
decision that mostly in the hands of AJ Preller, general
Yep.
manager. So he has this tie to the Rangers. He's been with the organization, I think, for 13 years, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 2005.
Doing all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
Mostly recently doing working in their player development department. A lot of people not liking it. What are you guys feeling on this one?
It does. It gives me like a -1 on my enthusiasm scale. It just, I know it was such a typical AJ Preller move as far as the managerial side, and it's just, I kind of agree with Brian's crosstalk after watching it because people were just. I was inundated that morning with negative reaction on this hire. I didn't know how to react because I was getting such inundated with negative reaction. But after watching Brian's crosstalk, I agree with it. You got to give him a chance. It's not your most ideal choice, but I think the man deserves at least a chance to put out his his philosophy and see what type of manager he is. But you just get the feeling. I mean, after his hire and all the reports about Bochy saying, "Well, I may be ready to come back in 2021," I think Ron Fowler is just, he put this edict out and he's letting Preller do whatever he wants. And boy, if it doesn't go right, I get to see him this
Saying
86
bye-bye to
in
both
both
of
of
them,
them, and bringing in Bochy with like whatever combination general manager he wants and doing it his way. It's just like it puts all the more pressure on Preller to get off to a really good start next year. And that's the intriguing part for me now is to see who's he going to bring in next. What player is going to be his first acquisition? I can't tell you. I really can't.
Well, they've talked about Jace Tingler being AJ Preller's baseball soulmate, and AJ Preller clearly has in mind a direction that he wants to take the franchise, the organization, and this guy lines up perfectly with that. So I think this is Preller going all in on his own philosophy, and honestly, I think it could work, and I hope it does work. If it doesn't, again, yeah. Man, we're set back a long time because they're going to can both of them and we're going to be back to square one. But I really do hope that if we're committing fully to this analytical approach or whatever AJ Preller's approach is, that instead of just putting 1 foot in or a toe, we're just jumping right in, getting acclimated to the water. And at the end of the day, you got to have the right players to make it work. And if we have that, I think Tingleberry will be just fine, and he's got an awesome name. He's only a couple years old. I probably need to show more respect and call him Jace Tingler.
He's got good teeth, as you
He
mentioned.
does. Beautiful teeth. I'm trying to get there, too. This podcast is sponsored by Invisalign and Cheetos, Flaming Hot Cheetos, apparently. But, yeah, I hope he does well. I hope we stick to the plan. I hope the plan works. I've got faith in A.J. Preller. He's brought a lot of excitement here. He hasn't brought a lot of wins, but he's brought a lot of excitement, starting with, the big, crazy 2015 offseason we had. And I'm with it. Never heard of the guy, but let's do it.
I know. Well, our first podcast talking about him, I think it was episode 12. I hadn't heard of the name until the day previous or the day of, and I joked that was the first brown and gold jersey I was going to purchase.
Yeah.
Was Jace Tingler,
Number 32, baby.
I guess I got to stick to my word. You got the 2-3. I've got 2.
Yeah, we're just mixing it up. We'll stand back to back and.
Well,
Tatis
November
Tingler.
9th.
November
on
9th.
the Jace Tingler.
And Thomas, you said Chris Paddock, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So my I was kind of like so indifferent about it. It's so hard to know,
Yeah.
My approach is we'll see. I think I obviously want to see the positive aspect of it. We mentioned how he's bilingual, so maybe that helps working with some of the players. The analytics approach, but as you said, like this is Preller's guy, and I hope to the dear Lord that these players get behind him.
Yeah.
You don't want this to be halfway through this next season, this new era, and we're 15 games behind 500.
Yep.
It's like, what do you do then? So hopefully this is a very good offseason
Yep.
of this team coming together. So it's so much of an unknown.
Yep.
But if you like Preller, then I guess you got to like this guy.
It's interesting you said whether the players will get behind him. And I feel like having been here for, coming up on his 5th year, A.J. Preller probably knows the players that he's got really well.
Yeah.
And he knows what players are going to be with him and what players are going to be, against the whole idea. So maybe that'll dictate who he tries to move in the offseason, not just contracts, but fits, like clubhouse fit. You hear so many teams talk about, we had such a great clubhouse, that the chemistry, all that stuff. So I feel like, and I hadn't even thought about this yet, but probably what we see in the offseason will be dictated on guys that A.J. Preller thinks will buy into the Jace Tingler philosophy. And it's interesting. I wonder if that'll play itself out.
I mean, so you got obviously a couple of, we know the guys are going to be here for the next few years. Hosmer and Machado, Fernando Tatis.
Yep.
Besides that, it's outside
Renfroe,
of a couple
Myers,
of
who knows,
pitchers,
man?
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Myers, what, $20 million each of the next 3
Yeah.
years? Are you just
3
going
years, $68 million is left on his deal.
you just going to dump
Maybe.
that? I mean, from a performance perspective, you do absolutely.
Yeah.
But the contract
Ain't our money.
basis of it,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my goodness, a lot of talk that they may be shopping Renfroe this offseason. I mean, didn't have the greatest of second halves, but
Sorry about that.
no, you're good.
No, my thing is, I agree. Yeah, I think they're going to have to make a decision on Manuel Margot or Hunter Renfroe, and then you're going to have to deal one of them in a package, because I think they really lack is a good left-hand hitting outfielder.
Yep.
Kind of equal out the lineup, and to me is that they're just too sometimes they're just too right-handed, and I think Hosmer's kind of left on an island because he's easily to be able to be pitched to, and it's funny. A lot of these guys on the internet kind of crack me up because they really bag on Hosmer, and I really don't see where they feel like he's had a bad 2 years here in San Diego. The first year was I wouldn't say disappointing, but it was an okay season. I thought he played pretty well last year. Just that I just don't think he has a lot of help behind him, and it's really you gotta. Do you want to put him in front of Machado or behind Machado? Because if you put him behind Machado, then he's going to be left alone. Because Renfroe and didn't show any consistency of hitting right-handed pitching, with the ratio. So, it's a tough situation. I think the Padres finally got to make a decision. Getting back to the Tingler for one thing is, do you think it's how important is it from your guys' perspective is the bench coach has to be? Does it have to be somebody with a lot of major, maybe almost a former manager, to help him along with his process of becoming his own manager? I mean, his own style manager.
I don't know.
I just think it has to be some type of compliment. So like it would be nice to have a bench coach this year with who's maybe had more experience at the major league level, and that can also relate with the players along with the manager. So I'm not going to call my expert on this this topic, but somebody that's had experience that can help groom the guy a little bit more.
But that's not an opposing
Yeah.
voice. Like, you don't want someone who's going to be like, oh, well, trust your instincts here. If your entire being is dependent on trust the numbers, not your instincts, like, I don't know. They got a plan, though. They'll figure it out. And Preller, we trust. And I believe that until I don't. And I still believe it. So we'll see what happens, baby.
It'll be
Padres.
interesting to see what they do.
They're going to look damn good. That's all I know.
Yeah, we've been talking about
Maybe.
it
Couple
for
weeks
the last
now.
weeks.
Coming up on 10 days until the 9th.
Yeah, baby.
Somebody texted me. He was afraid now what the brown uniform would look after the managerial.
Oh dear.
If you screw this up so
Yeah.
bad, how can you screw? No.
I mean, this kind of going back to this bring back the Brown topic. This has been
Yeah.
something that's been brewing with fans the last
Yeah.
decade, you know. And for so long, Ron Fowler kind of denied that anything would happen, or kind of just dismissed everything.
Yep.
And finally felt enough pressure to make the change.
Yep.
Um,
It's been funny. I saw. Probably shouldn't say it. I saw a tweet that said, Ron Fowler, the first thing he said when he came into power with the Padres was, I hate Brown. We're not going back to Brown. We're back to Brown. And then he said, we're not signing Manny Machado for $300 million. And we signed Manny Machado for $300 million. And then he said, we're hiring a manager with major league experience. That's the number one thing we're looking for is MLB experience. And they hired Tingler. So, yeah, I think he's more of an observer, opening up the checkbook.
Yep.
I like him being out there. He's it's exciting. It's
Are
the
you
most
s-
excited I've been about the Padres this last year and a half, man.
Are you guys surprised that there has not been 1 ounce of like leak information on what the uniforms might look like? I mean, we've all seen the variations, but I mean like one like solid source that like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. And it'll be
Well,
announced in a few weeks.
After I sold my design to the team for the new uniforms, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So
And now he's revealing it
just kidding.
a week before.
And I just lost everything, man. I had a house all dialed up for me and everything. No, I kind of, but it's like they're making such a big deal about that November 9th
Yeah.
event that I feel like, man, if you leaked it or were the one to come out and, you know, go against everything that's going on, you would be so canned. Like, you would just
Yeah.
be gone.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
the biggest thing the team has going in the offseason, and you blow it, like, you'd have a hard time getting a job anywhere. So I think that's why it's so close to the best.
So, again, when there's always been talk of this, in the Padres, of course, in their past, they've also had orange in the jerseys.
Yep.
There's been so many variations of designs that you've seen. We now know it's for sure going to be brown and yellow or brown
Yep.
and gold. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Ed Bryan is our design expert here at the Connection. How would you like to see? I guess I'll ask you their home jersey, their away jersey, and maybe an alternate, whether it's a brown top or white top with brown and gold.
Yep.
How would you like to see those ideally?
Ideally, I want brown pinstripes at home. So like white pinstripe pants, pinstripe top with some type of brown and gold Padres word mark. But I love the look of brown pinstripes on a white uniform. Even if it's like off-white, whatever color they decide to go with the white, even though I think a crisp white with brown pinstripes would look really sharp. I hope the alternate is brown, similar
Yeah.
to what the Friday night brown is, and if they want to wear that with, plain white pants instead of the pinstripe pants. But I even think pinstripe pants look fine with a solid shirt. And then on the road, I think brown and gold looks really good with gray. I've heard some talk about they may go to, a sand or like tan color on the road. I'd love to see it just be gray because I think it would just look really sharp that way. If they wanted to have a gold jersey with the SD interlocking here, like I think on the brown, the word mark looks really good. I think on the white and on the road, a word mark. But a yellow with the SD, the interlocking SD
brown?
on the chest, in brown and gold, but like a yellow jersey, kind of like the Oakland A's wear, where they have like the A in the corner, and it doesn't say like athletics across the front, but it's just the logo. I think that would look really sharp as another type of alternate uniform. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And if it doesn't look anything like that, but it's still not that blue and white boring crap, then I'm gonna be fine. So. The brown is back, and whatever it is, I'll be happy, and I will be buying that number 23 FTJ jersey. And I'm going to force Andy into buying number 32.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm going to buy a 32 throwback blue and white. Not kidding.
Someone was saying, like, on November 10th, there's going to be a campaign to bring back the blue. No one's ever happy, which is the world we live in.
I would do a throwback blue and orange, but that's the only blue I would do.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
The
98
jersey of our childhoods.
Yep.
Well, gentlemen, we're winding down on another episode. So another big story, we were talking about it real briefly before we came on here, was the NCAA's decision to essentially allow pay for players. You guys have any type of reaction to this?
For me, it's been way over. It should have been done years ago.
Yep.
This is this is the NCAA just trying to say, hey, we're saving face, but somehow they'll find a school or a player for doing some charitable work and suspend him against Appalachian State if he plays for North Carolina or something. And it's just them trying to save face. And to me, I think it begins with the clock ticking on them from the Big Five conference just seceding from the NCAA and going on their own, because I don't think a lot of them like the way the football is set up, and I know that they may not like the football playoff setup, and because I think Pac-12 and the Big Ten feel that the SEC gets too much lenience with two teams. It's two teams first for them, and then it's one for everybody else. It's never one for them. And so I think that's going to be a dogfight, and quite frankly, I think that's the way it should be. I think there should be two separate. I think a school like San Diego State cannot compete with those leagues, but I think especially in probably more in basketball than football, they could compete to possibly win a championship on a different smaller level with the type of talent that they bring into the school. And I'm just counting down the clock on that, because I think that's going to happen within the next 5 years.
So the NCAA splits the Power Five and the Group of Five. Yep.
Yeah, just go on their own.
Yep. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I just hope this brings back the NCAA football PlayStation game, because they stopped doing that game once all this stuff happened. And NCAA football, I thought it was superior to the Madden family, and I just love that game. If that comes back, then I may have to get a PlayStation again and get after it. So hopefully,
I agree. EA Sports, baby, bringing back memories.
It's in the game.
Are they still in business? EA Sports?
I don't know. We're gonna find out. Mahomes
was on Madden.
Yeah, so that has to be right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much to say on it, but I think, like you said, it's been a long time in the making, so I guess it's nice to see it official.
Yep.
And of course, going off what the state of California decided to do in that regard a few weeks back.
Yeah, they were scared to lose California. So okay, they don't need to run away. Let's keep them in. Let's make everybody happy.
Any Aztecs news as of late, gentlemen?
Well, the Aztecs are in the top 25 of the AP poll. They're number 26 in the coaches poll, but 25 in the AP poll. They're idle this week, so they're not playing. But they're definitely in the mix for the Group of Five's Cotton Bowl bid. This year, the Cotton Bowl is the one that has to take the highest-ranked Group of Five conference champion. Right now, the AAC, the American Conference, is loaded. They've got a ton of good teams. SMU's still undefeated. Cincinnati only has one loss, but that loss is on the road to Ohio State. So everybody in the group of 5 would be, a 4-5 touchdown underdog at Ohio State. They also have teams like Memphis, Navy, UCF, who are all in the mix. Appalachian State is still undefeated out of the Sun Belt. Conference USA is not great, so even their one-loss teams, which are Louisiana Tech and Alabama Birmingham, I don't think they're a factor for the Cotton Bowl bid. So I think it comes down to whoever wins the American, and then Appalachian State if they're still undefeated, but they've got a couple of tough games coming up. And then San Diego State and Boise State. If those two teams can meet in the Mountain West Championship, both with one loss, which they both have right now, then I think the winner of that game has a really good claim to that Cotton Bowl bid. So keeping them fingers
Cotton
crossed
Bowl,
for the
baby.
Aztecs that they could go to a New Year's 6 bowl game, Dallas, Texas, Jerry's World, December 28th, Aztecs taking on one of the big boys. Boom.
And they play well at Boise too. They play Boise better in Boise than they do here at Qualcomm, and that's pretty. That's my old reference.
SDCCU Stadium, baby.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The Murph.
San Diego
San
Stadium.
Diego Stadium, yeah.
Built in
But-
1968.
You know, don't sleep on the Aztecs because they only have one road game left for the remainder of the season. It's a trip to Hawaii, and the rest of their games, especially in November, are home. So
Yep.
that's going to be a big. I think that's going to be a distinct advantage for them to get into that Mountain West Championship game.
The biggest hurdle coming up on their schedule is the last game of the season against BYU. BYU has not been good. They've lost 4 games. They're 3-4. They've lost 4 games to teams that are not great, but they've beaten USC. They've beaten Boise State, and they have one other really good Pac-12 win. So they're losing to the bad teams and beating the good teams. So that's a game where you look at it and you're like, okay, well, they could go into that game 10-1 and everything to play for and up to about 19th in the poll and lose to BYU, who has no business beating them. So I hope they get to that point. It's been a fun year so far, and a lot more exciting things to come. But I'm calling it right now. 11-1 Aztecs versus 11-1 Boise State. The winner goes to the Cotton Bowl.
Ooh.
Boom.
Bold, as usual, from the corner over here.
If they go to the Cotton Bowl, I'm there.
All right, I'll go too. It's in Dallas, December 28th.
Let's go.
is
Road
the
trip,
date.
baby.
Yep.
BCSC
Arlington,
road
Jerry's
trip.
World. Yeah, I'm down. I'm saying it right now. If they go, I'm going.
Best
Thomas,
Coast
you're
Sports
going?
Connection on the road.
AB, you going to the Cotton
Oh,
Bowl?
absolutely.
All right, so we're going. Road
Best
show,
Coast
Antique Roadshow in
Takes on
Arlington.
Texas.
I got a place we can stay too, so all we got to pay for is the
I,
flights.
I might have a place too, but yeah, let's make it happen. All right, guys. Any other thoughts before we head off the
Real
air?
quick, Lakers, another big win last
Ooh,
night. They've
yes.
won 3 straight since we were last on after that opening night defeat to the Clippers. Anthony Davis is in a different world. That guy is so awesome. Another 30-point win last night. They've been blowing everybody out late in games. So, yeah, exciting. Looks like the Lakers are the real deal, just like we thought. Hope that they can stay healthy and that load management doesn't cost them too many games this year. But, yeah, it's hard to get really into the NBA right now when we got
Yeah.
the World Series going and all this football. But that is one little exciting nugget. College basketball starts tonight, too. The Aztecs open up against UCSD. So,
And they have a really good team.
yeah, they do. They're stacked.
When they go to the Big West next year,
Yep.
that's going to be amazing. 3D1.
Yeah, that'll be
schools
fun,
in
man.
San
They'll have to
Diego.
when they always talk about SDSU versus USD's the city championship. They're gonna have to have like a little 3-way championship in basketball.
And Point Loma Nazarene isn't that bad either.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they're
they're
always
Any school.
they're always competitive.
Yeah.
I love that. So going back to the NBA,
Yeah.
a team that I follow and call myself a fan of, the Sacramento Kings, because I
Yep.
lived there, didn't really have a team growing up here in San Diego. They've started off 0-4 for their season. So
They're young. They're young.
picked really bad sports teams from an early age and have had to deal with
Hey,
it.
it makes you a stronger person,
Right.
Andy.
Right.
And a true fan. Nobody can question your fandom.
Yep.
You're not showing up to the bar wearing a Washington Nationals.
I almost
Washington Brown shirt.
wore my Ryan Leaf jersey that I still have in the
Oh,
closet for Halloween.
I would have left. I would have left. I would not have gone.
Why
on
do
that.
I still have that? I don't know. I was like gonna burn it, make a video out of it, or
You're gonna have them
try to sell it on eBay for 99 cents, or I
break
don't know.
into the Dan Fouts jersey and put Ryan Leaf up instead, and see how long it takes to notice. Or Lance Allworth turn the 19 into a 16. Ah.
All right, I think we've come to an end. Any final thoughts, Thomas? Who's your
Go
survivor
Reds,
pick right now? No.
Yeah, you got to pick your survivor pick right now on the air. Everyone wants to know.
And then you can change it afterwards.
Yeah.
But we need
Dolphins.
the Dolphins.
You're not picking the Dolphins.
I am picking
You're
the
lying.
Dolphins.
You're not.
South Beach all the way,
Oh
baby.
my gosh, the South Beach diet is caught
Pitbull.
on. All right,
getting
Thomas.
jiggy with it.
We're holding.
Welcome to
that.
Miami. All right, I think that's it. Episode 15. Good work, guys. Catch us guys on the internet,
Boom.
on social media, or BCS. What?
BCSportsConnect.com.
BCSportsConnect.com.
Boom.
See ya.